In this lesson, we'll cover duct placeholders. So looking at the example we have on our screen, we actually see two duct runs. Those are the elements in blue. They come out from the actual mechanical equipment, the yellow boxes, and then they connect into the actual end result or the diffusers. Those are at the very ends. And you can see those diffusers if I move my mouse over each one and pause, it'll highlight showing me each terminal diffuser. In this case, one on the end of each run of the actual system. What we want to look at is a duct placeholder system. So you may ask yourself, well, what's a duct placeholder system? If I know what a duct is, because I can see it's in blue here, what is a duct placeholder system? Well, the difference between a duct and a duct placeholder is basically the duct is drawn just like you see it, the real shape, the real size of that duct work. The duct placeholder is nothing other than a single line. Now, the single line has similarities and differences to the real ductwork. Duct placeholder ducts can only represent oval, round, and rectangular shapes, or that type of duct system. Whereas ducts, you can have a variety of oval shapes, rectangular shapes, and round shapes, shown at their true scale or how they're actually drawn. Another thing is that placeholder ducts do not have values for things such as the justification for placement, insulation, or lining. Primarily, it doesn't have these things because a duct placeholder line is typically used just in the conceptual stage of laying out a project, basically where I just need a placeholder or a rough idea of where it's being placed. In comparison to the duct that's on the left, we're going to use the duct placeholder to do the same thing to the actual unit in yellow on the right and the diffuser air terminal on the right. So let's go to the Systems tab on your ribbon. On the right in the HVAC panel, click Duct Placeholder. Now, before I click anything, the first thing I want to verify is, well, what type of duct do I want to apply or use here within my system? If you click the drop-down in the Properties window, I'll see the actual components for ducts that are currently loaded. I'm just going to use the rectangular duct mitered elbows taps in this example. The second thing I want to do is verify the width and height and also my offset from my reference level or hosted level. So my reference level is level 1. I want to verify in the drop-down that my offset is 2,800 millimeters. For those of you using inches and feet, that's about 9 feet. Now, with that information verified and set, I can actually start to place my duct placeholder line. I can place this with two methods. One is an automatic connect method, connecting to points on my diffusers and on my air handling equipment, or I can do a manual placement. We're going to use the automatic method. So let's move our mouse over the diffuser in the lower right. Pause your mouse over the top side of that diffuser, and you should see a little snap or a little symbol appear over the point or connector on that diffuser. This is the intelligence of the diffuser itself that'll interpret what type of duct would connect to it and where it would go to connect to something else. In this case, though, we're just drawing a single line because it's a placeholder line. When you see that symbol, go ahead and left click on it, and then start to move your mouse or drag your mouse. Now, when you drag your mouse, you see a green line being pulled away. This is the placeholder duct line. Move into the yellow shape on the very right on its bottom, and you should see the same symbol appear in that area. Again, another point or connector allowing this supply diffuser to be connected to this actual unit. Now, if you try to connect the wrong type of diffuser to the wrong unit, Revit will notify you of that. You have a mismatch in your system. In this case, they match. So when I see this other symbol for the point and the connector, simply left click, and what Revit will do is calculate the path based on the settings for your mechanical systems. So again, that's why it's important to set your mechanical system settings, or at least verify those before laying out any type of mechanical equipment. Now, I can continue to create additional duct systems at this point, but I'm done for this example. So let's click Modify in the upper left. Now, to see some of the differences between the placeholder duct on the right and the actual true duct on the left, let's go ahead and click on each. So on the placeholder duct on the right, I'm going to click the little angled horizontal line that represents the duct. When I do that, I see the dimensional values on my screen. And over on the left in the property area, I see it's attached to level 1. It has an offset, but I don't see any justification values here. Also, if I were to scroll down, I won't see anything for insulation or lining. Click Modify. Now, let's click on the same element on the left for the duct. Again, I see dimensional values on the screen, very similar. The area on the left shows me the information for the duct, but now I also see my justification of how this is being justified, where the dimensions are and where it snaps to each piece of duct work. So there's a middle and the center justification. Also, if I were to scroll down, I would see information for insulation and lining. So these are just some of the areas pointing out the differences between a placeholder duct and also a regular duct. So as a review, in this lesson, we looked at duct placeholders. We discussed what the difference is between a duct placeholder and a regular duct. We also looked at where to place these duct placeholders from, the Systems tab and the HVAC panel. We looked at the settings for the duct placeholder, offset values from the finished floor, also the differences between the duct itself and a regular duct, meaning justification and lack of insulation or lining values in the placeholder duct. And lastly, we talked or showed how you can actually convert a placeholder duct to a regular duct.